Hello and welcome to Racers Now. In this video, we're going to be looking at the 5 Group 1 supporting racers at Paris Longchamp on Arc Day. We've already covered the Arc in detail with Hump and myself. Now we're going to look at the supporting racers. And as usual, they are lining up to be pretty fantastic. I mean, where else in the world are you going to get 6 proper Group 1s on the day, particularly on turf? Nowhere. And that's why Mr. Hump, who is on screen, is going all the way to Paris to see it. How are you?
Good, yeah, ready to go. Bright and early tomorrow, flying about midday, so happy days. Looking forward to it.
Right, no messing. There's plenty to get through. Plenty of UK and Irish representatives throughout, as you would expect, particularly on the two-year-old Group 1s that start the card. Hump's going to take the lead in telling us about the French contenders, starting with this Marcel Boussac for the fillies over a mile. This is the 12:55 UK time, and I'll be honest, Zaragana, I've never heard of, and she's 8-11 favourite. Tell me all about her, please.
Yeah, she won the Group 3 last time, the Group 3 All Mile. It was over course and distance. She's superbly bred, let's put it that way. She's the Grand Dame Zarkava and a sire Siuni, so it doesn't get really much better than that. She basically bleeds Aga Khan blood. So the Group 3 course and distance, she pulled early on in the race and she kept pulling into the straight, really. It didn't turn out to be a problem. Let's put it that way. She just put up a relentless gallop. She just kept going in the straight, pulled easily clear. And if you're being honest, it looked like a piece of work to her, really, which was not what you expect from a Group 3 kind of thing. She wasn't the easiest going around the bends and down the hills, but I think that's just because she's very inexperienced. She's odds on for a reason. I think she'd be very difficult to beat, let's put it that way. If we want to move on to another horse, then it's where are we? We're looking at the Boussac. Yeah, it's disappointing not to see Angel in this race. Angel was third behind her that day. She was she was entered up all the way through. So I think she's probably lost the biggest rival from France in there. I don't think there's anything else outside of that that's really going to cause her a problem.
Yeah, Aidan O'Brien has won 3 of the last 10. He's currently got 4 entered in this, chiefly being Bedtime Story, who is second favourite 7-2 at the moment. Went off 4-5 for the Moyglare on Irish Champions Weekend. Very disappointing. Finished last of 5 there. Lake Victoria, the winner, since won again another Group 1 last week. But yeah, I mean, Bedtime Story as a filly went in the Cheltenham against the boys on just a second start of Royal Ascot, won that by 9.5 lengths. But it is quite clear that she has gone backwards since in terms of her form figures. I mean, she might have won a couple of egg and spoon races at the Leopardstown and Curragh, but at 1-16. Then when she's been put in against horses of more of a Group 1 standard, she's finished last of 5, finished lame that day as well. So, I mean, like I say, they declare for these races on Friday morning. We're looking through them. Now. There's a lot of change to be had in a lot of these markets that we're going to touch on in this video. I'm not even sure if Bedtime Story will run. I mean, she finished lame 21 days ago, and now he's coming up for another Group 1 here. I think this could be a coming out party for Zaragana. We all remember, she was popped up on Twitter. Not many of us might have watched it live, but she popped up on Twitter, granddaughter of Zarkava, as Hump said, and she wazzed in by 3 lengths. That's why she's odds on. I don't know if anything's going to get anywhere near her. I mean, the other O'Brien horses in here are Exactly, that's only won a maiden. January, similar comments apply, which won a listed race, and World, who's also won a maiden. So unexposed, but yeah, unlikely to be. The French have got a leading hand in this one. Let's put it that way. Simmerin has been put in for what's his name, Sangster. So would be an interesting run. Is she the one that is owned by Al Shakab, Hump? Is that right?
She is, right? Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, obviously sponsor on the day, so there'll certainly be no bet from here. I doubt there's a bet from Hump, but we've teed it up with Zaragana being odds on and likely to stay that way between now and 12:55 UK time on Sunday. Yep.
The one thing with Bedtime Story is, obviously you mentioned Aidan's won 3 of the last 10. 2 of those were found an opera singer, and she'd need to be good, if not better than those, to get to win this race, and I don't think she is.
Yeah, all three of them were favourites as well, and this one is unlikely to be. And he is represented most years. So given that, yeah, he's won 3 out of 10, not actually a great strike rate because he's probably had the favourite in 8 out of the last 10 renewals, for example. Right, moving swiftly on to the race 2, Jean-Luc Lagardere. This is for the boys, 2-year-olds, over 7 furlongs, though. The Boussac's over a mile. This is over 7. This used to be over a mile, didn't it? And then they amended it a couple of years ago.
Possibly, yeah. What
You should
possibly
know
the one
that,
thing to
Hunter.
remember. I know the one thing to remember about these two races is they are very, very quick into the bend. The first bend at Longchamp, that's what they are. With the Boussac, they come out and they're basically on the turn straight away. The Lagardere, which we're about to speak about, they come out of it almost like out of a chute and into the bend. So it's worth bearing in mind that if you have a horse that starts slowly or a horse that's based on the inside, it could get a bit messy for them when they all take over to the rail.
Yep, fair enough. Final decks and draw tomorrow. Again, I think this could cut up a little bit. The British and Irish dominate the top of the market at the moment from an anti-post perspective. Field of Gold, we kind of know a lot about him. He's won the Solario on his most recent start. I think he's a good horse. Judmont, John and Thady Gosden, Kingman. He'll probably want it a bit quicker than it's going to be. The Aidan O'Brien representative could well be Henry Matisse, who was second in the National Stakes Group 1 on his last start. Rashabar is in there, third favourite, Brian Meehan. I questioned that form last week from the Prix-Mornay. Although Whistle Jacket finished second, he got beat at odds on last week, let's be honest. So I questioned that. And the leading French horse at the moment looks like this Misunderstood. Anything on him?
He blazed in last time over the mile at Longchamp for Baratti. The ground was testing, a lot more testing than it will be coming up. So the winning margin probably is exaggerated a bit. But the course won't be a shock to him, unlike others, which I do find as a positive. His sire was a great 2-year-old as well. He's by Hello Youmsay, and obviously Hello Youmsay, a very good 2-year-old. I prefer to cut in the ground, so I don't think he can be fully omitted. The one thing for Field of Gold was a strange one that Judmont actually bought Field of Gold from the sales, which they don't normally do a lot. They bought him for about 500 grand. And then the third from that Solario has come out, and obviously it was beaten by Wimbledon Hawkeye, I think, at the weekend. And there's very good vibes around that Wimbledon Hawkeye for the next coming year. Henri Matisse, Aidan normally doesn't send his best 2-year-old colt here. Let's be honest, he's got either the Racing Post Trophy or the Dewars to send them to. That's where you'll probably find the Lion in Winter is probably his best 2-year-old, and he's going to be going that way. So, I don't think there's much. I found this a really difficult race, to be honest. I really did. The one other one I wanted to note, or there's two more actually I wanted to note, was Rashabar. Now they've openly come out and said that Rashabar's there for the premiums, and rightly so. The premiums are worth an absolute fortune to them. The Mornay, as you mentioned, I think he'd be better over the 1400 7 furlongs. They've given him time. They've kept him away from a lot of races. They've skipped a meal or two basically to come back for this race. Brian Meehan's actually due a French winner. He's had 4 runners up from 7 total runners in France this season. Rashabar being that twice. It might be once or twice, I can't remember, but he's definitely been over the water and he knows what it's about. And the last one from a French point of view is Hukato. I'm not 100% sure on the pronunciation. I believe that's the same. I believe that's well regarded for Christopher Head. Look, he won in the provinces on his first 2 starts. He jumped up to Group 3 after that and performed well. That was at Deauville. It was a very tricky ride early on. Didn't have the juice to go past the winner. Tricky again the next time out, but it was at Longchamp, and he was prominent. But my problem with him is he does hold his head very high, which I'm not a fan of. Of the 2 French ones, I would prefer Misunderstood, but I found this a really difficult race to find one and be confident in one. Let's be honest.
Yeah, I think it's one where you need the final decks. Camille Pizarro was mentioned earlier in the week as a possible runner. He did everything but win, albeit a sales race at Doncaster last time, second by a nose, but was well tried before then. Went off 4-1 favourite for the Coventry. Hasn't necessarily fulfilled that expectation, but he might be an interesting runner at a double figure price. Right, swiftly moving on. They're the 2-year-old races out the way, and this at 2:05 UK time is the Prix de l'Abbaye, 5 furlongs. It's the biggest draw race possibly in the whole of Europe. I.e., if you get drawn, I think it's low on that rail. That's definitely that's definitely where you want to be, or high. It's a high draw, which is near the rail. So you've really got to wait for the draw to see what happens there. But it's a bit of a rematch, really. We've seen these two do battle before, and that is Believing and Bradsell at the top of the market. They're hard to split. Bradsell 7-2 best, Believing 4-1. They've been first and second with each other. Bradsell first, Believing second on the last two starts, the Numthorpe, and then most recently the Flying Five at the Curragh. Now, I've had pretty much heated discussions in private with people that think that Believing would have beat Bradsell last time if they was drawn together. Believing was drawn in on the near side at the Curragh. Bradsell, Believing far side, Bradsell near side. She got the rail, blah, blah, blah. I'm not having that. I just think Bradsell is a better horse than Believing. It's as simple as that for me. I thought Bradsell, remember, he was off for a long time. He didn't return in 24 until August the 4th at Deauville, where he won easily. Then backed up in the Numthorpe, where I put him up on the channel, and I thought he won easily there as well. It was that far in front. I thought he was messing around, Bradsell, towards the end of that race. And then he's won similarly easily at the Curragh for me, Believing. An easy eye catcher, an obvious eye catcher, down the centre of the track, running on her own, fast finisher, never closer than at the line. But for me, I just think we're getting carried away with Believing being an unlucky horse. I think Bradsell's a better horse than her. But all of that matters not anyway. Completely regardless, because this draw, the ground, the end of season, the big field, it just throws up chaotic results, this race. So yeah, I know there'll be plenty of people looking to have big prices each way. Although saying that, the last two favourites have won, to be fair. But the French haven't won this for God knows how long. I mean, if you just look down the roll of honour the last 10 years, winning trainers, John Quinn, Richard Fahey, Ado McGuinness. The French did win one in 2020 COVID year. Kevin Ryan, Michael Dodds. I mean, this race could basically be run at Haydock or York or Ascot. Is there one at a bigger price that I might be looking at? Not sure yet. There's an interest in this No Half Measures, who was just took off this year, was at an official rating of 90 only a few runs back. Ryan Moore rode that one last time to a Group 3 win, so No Half Measured would be half interesting for Richard Hughes. And Kurdos, who's been knocking on the door, ran some good races, ran okay at Goodwood, then again ran okay at the Curragh in that Flying Five. So Kurdos may be one that I'll be keeping an eye on. The UK trainers have got the first 6 or even 7 in the markets. You have to go to a big price to find a European runner. I'm suspecting Hump doesn't have much comment to make here.
No.
Very sure. But yeah, I'm going to wait for the draw. Headline is, I think Bradsell's better than Believing, but that's not necessarily going to prove itself in this race, given the draw in the ground, etc. But yeah, an exciting race nonetheless. Definitely one that would be preferred to watch on telly on the comfort of my own sofa, rather than at the track like Hump, because it's ran down the middle for some unknown reason. It's like Sandown, yeah. So that's the 205.
Don't forget your binoculars if you're going. Don't forget your binoculars, because you're going to need them.
Yeah. That's the 205 L'Abbaye 5 furlongs Group 1. Then it's the Arc at 320 that we've covered in full on a separate video. Then we're on to the 405. This is the Prix de l'Opera for the fillies and mares, 10 furlongs. Again, plenty of UK and Irish interest in there. Fallen Angel. She took a while. She won the Irish Guineas, had a little while off, and then ran a really nice second at Leopardstown over the Irish Champions weekend in the Matron. She did virtually nothing wrong there. Porta Fortuna, the winner. She's probably the best female miler in Europe. Yulang's interesting in here for me as well, but she's plenty short enough now. Then it's other Aidan O'Brien runners. I think Hump might want to comment on Sparkling Plenty, who he hoped would run in the Arc. But isn't. But that doesn't make her you can't be scarred by it. She's still interesting for this.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. So it wasn't where I would have gone, but at the same time, look, they paid the bills. They made the decision. Simple as that. No surprise, it will be Sparkling Plenty that I do like for the race. I just think the distance is perfect for her. Obviously, we saw her win the Diane. As I meant, nothing more really to add from what we did last time. The closing speed is superb. The Vermeer debacle should just be forgotten about, and just probably have a spot on for this. The ones at the top of the betting, I think she probably is the one that's tried and tested over the 2,000 miles to 10 furlongs. Obviously, we were expecting, Fallen Angel's going to have to step up in trip. Ylang, obviously, the same. Those kind of things. I actually think that Fallen Angel could make this a really interesting race if she goes from the front again, because you do have sort of closers like Sparkling Plenty to come from the back, and she will need to be far enough in front that Sparkling Plenty isn't going to catch up with her. And let's put it that and try and catch up with her. Look, Ylang is a strange one for me. She got last night when I looked at the prices. She was actually, I think she was favourite for a bit, and they continued to back her. I'm not wholly sure as to why, given that she's not won since October 2023. And again, as I mentioned, hasn't tried 10 furlongs. At the breeding on the dam side, she's got stamina there, but the dam couldn't win a listed race. You know what I mean? So it's hardly top level form. And the matron showed she can keep on for it, but I do think others do appeal more. As I mentioned, the Burke horse, the breeding suggests that the trip shouldn't be a problem. She's very lightly raced as well. The Burke horse, only 3 runs, so I think that they've left a bit in her ready for this. Obviously, the owners have bought into it, I would imagine, for the sole purpose to run her at this meeting. Obviously, the Wathnam team, part of the family that sponsored the whole meeting, which is nice as well. And yeah, it was a bit of a shame. Obviously, we lost Opera Singer from the race yesterday, and we lost See the Fire from the race today. I actually thought See the Fire had gone a bit under the radar. I thought she might have a chance in this, given the Opera Singer form, and then I think it was the York 9 furlongs last time. So It is what it is. The one that is at a bigger price, if people are interested in one at a bigger price, was American Sonia. Now, the best piece of form is behind Marquise de Sevigné. Now, people who watched the other video will know that I put her as a bit of a long shot for the Arc. And as you mentioned, she's done a lot of winning at 8, 9 furlongs, so about as close to 10 as you can get, really. That was in the Romane. She clipped a heel, reported to clip a heel in the Blanford last time, so you can probably write that race off. Won an easy pre-Allée France at Longchamp earlier on this year. So she knows the course, she knows the contours of the course. And look, she's 20-1, so she's not she was 20-1. So she's not like, I don't think she'll win the race, let's put it that way, but I don't think she'll be last. And I think she's probably a bit overpriced against some others, I would say.
Yeah, well, along similar form lines as American Sonia, she's trained by Joseph. I watched this race with Henalia for the Olga Khan, trained by Johnny Murta, and that was a Group 2 last time in that Blanford Stakes. It's at the Curragh on Irish Champions Weekend Sunday, and there were some good yardsticks in there, and that Henalia, who only won a maiden this year in May, and has really gone up the levels, listed Group 3, didn't win the Group 3, then won this Group 2. Yeah, and what's key in that one as well, Jockey dropped his whip plate on Shane Foley in that race on Henalia, so I would definitely put her amongst it in here. Going to wait for final decks on Friday, but she's a double figure price at the moment. Like Hump said, See the Fire's come out. You can't see Content running. I think she's a firm ground horse. And Ylang. I do like Ylang. As Hump's correctly pointed out, she's not won for nearly a year, coming up a year, 11 months. She's had a disjointed season. I thought she ran perfectly well, actually, in that Moyglare. I know she only finished 4th behind Porta Fortuna, but 3 very good horses in front of her. But she is too short at 4-1. She's had all sorts of options. She could have run in the Sun Chariot. She's got 3 entries on British Champions Day alone. But yeah, 4-1, I think, is probably too short for Ylang, given that Fallen Angel, in direct comparison, has proven it a bit more. So, but yeah, I'll be waiting on final deck and Henalia for me, final decks.
One that we haven't mentioned that is going to run is Friendly Soul for the John Gosden team. Kieran Schumacher's going to ride. I actually mentioned her on X a long way out from this. It was went back and it was July the 27th. I said, look, keep an eye out for her. We're giving an Opera entry now. Connections of previous in this. They won it with We Are in 2014. The one thing that I didn't think was in her favour, and the Gosdens, if you have a Racing Post membership, you'll be able to see that the ground was a problem for them last time at Deauville. It was a bit tacky. They weren't overly fond of the ground, and I don't think it's going to be any better at Paris Longchamp than it was at Deauville that day. They said they considered Delmar, which I thought was interesting, given the fact that it's 1 mile. It's 1 mile 3, I think, round there this year. If they wanted to go for the Fillies and Mers race there, she was in the Sun Chariot. They took her out the Sun Chariot, so it's one to bear in mind. But she will go from the front as well. She is she is a front runner, so we could have Fallen Angel, we could have Friendly Soul, both sort of chancing around from the front, trying to see if they can go. But I think the ground is probably, if they mentioned it before, they're probably going to mention it again on Sunday. But just wanted to bring up Friendly Soul because she is a likely winner and she is jocked up for the race.
Yep, I like Friendly Soul. I put her up for the Ascot race where she won well from the front. Good ride. The form of that race in July has not turned into much at all in hindsight. And then the ground's the problem for her. So the one I've got my eye on is Hanalia. The final Group 1 of the day is the Prix de la Foret, 7 furlongs. This is at 4:40 UK time. We've got Kinross in there. Won it 2 years ago. Was odds on for this race last year and didn't win. Second that day to a massive outsider in Kalina. Plenty of UK and Irish representation again. But the French do have a couple quite near the top of the market in Remachuel and Tribalist, who was a shock winner of the Prix de la Moulin last time. Tell me about it.
Yeah, we'll start with Tribalist. Yeah, so he's one of the very few horses to beat Charin this year, but I think the less said about the ride on Charin that day, the better, I think. I don't think D'Souza will have a videotape on his wall for that one, I think. But
well, to be honest, I actually think that Charin was the second best ride in the race because none of the others got anywhere near. No. So you can blame all of them. It wasn't optimal, but the likes of Henry, Notable, Kalina, they got no way near. But obviously, Tribalist ran away with it. It was 27 to 1 or something.
Yeah, the thing with Tribalist, which is a bit of he's for the price he is, I think there is question marks around. Look, he's a miler in a 7 furlong race. Let's be frank about it. They have to go a long way up the straight in the Foret. Remember, it's the second winning post in the Foret, so the straight is that extra little bit longer, which probably will work in his favour. It just means that he can keep on in the straight line better than potentially others will. Fab hasn't won this since 2015. Make believe that time, and look, he's shortened in the last day or two in the market, and probably can't see him out the frame, especially if they've ridden him prominently in the Mugway at Saint-Cloud and the Moulin, obviously, as you mentioned there, off the front. It might be a case of he might be gone and the others might not be able to catch him if they carry on that way because of the way he will stay on. Look, I wouldn't be 100% because I do think he's a mile in a 7 furlong race, so he's there to be shot at if they do go from the front. Remachuel, back after a very long break, 107 days. That really is a long summer holiday. I don't know if there's been any issues with her. I don't think there has been. There's not been reported. Look, she was third at Newmarket. Everybody knows the ride that she got that day from Lenetra, which she probably went a bit too soon. The format of that isn't too bad, considering what's come out and won. Obviously, Tanfano is in
great
there.
Form.
And there's a couple of Grateful. There you go as well. So the ride in she was third in the Coronation as well, which was another good run, and she won't bump into Opera Singer or Porta Fortuna this time around either, which is obviously very helpful to her. Going back to 7 furlongs could be a good idea based upon what we saw at Newmarket. It's less than a vintage renewal, let's put it that way as well, so it might not take that much winning, especially if Kinross is on one of his off days. I find him super hard to predict. I just cannot get him right at all. She will get the weight from Kinross and from Tribalist, which is a help. But my question is, if they're using this as a prep for the Breeders' Cup, where they have identified that they will be going to the Breeders' Cup later on in the year. So maybe not. I'm not 100% sure.
Yeah, that's a fair point in regards to the Breeders' Cup. As you say, she's had that pretty long holiday. Criticise that ride at Newmarket. I mean, to me,
some people did. I didn't. Some people did. I didn't think it was that bad of a ride. I think if you're going to go and if you're going to try and win, you might as well have a good go and see what happens.
Yeah. Well, to me, the horse doesn't stay a mile. That's the first thing. She doesn't properly stay a mile. The form of that could hardly have worked out any better. Porta Fortuna, she was a short head behind Porta Fortuna, who's won 3 Group 1 since. Fallen Angel was behind. Yilang, I know she's not done much winning, was behind. See the Fire. I just thought it was a really good run. Also, what you got to remember, what I vividly remember about this Remachuel was backed as if losing was pretty much out of the question at Royal Ascot. Went off 15-8. She was so strong on the day for a horse that was a questionable stay-up, going on to a stiffer mile at Royal Ascot on the round course. And I thought she ran pretty well there as well. This, to me, if you'd have said to me on June the 22nd, the day after she ran, what's the perfect race for Remachuel? The Foret. 7 furlongs, bit of cut in the ground. I just think it's perfect for her. And in the form of that Royal Ascot race as well. A length behind Opera Singer. Port Fortuna obviously won. El Malka was a classic winner. She was in front of See the Fire Content. She was in front of her. Now, you do have to take into account that break and the Breeders' Cup target, but it's a Group 1 in its own right. Christopher Head, has been in the news about losing some horses. He ain't going to be messing around here. O'Shea Murphy could actually ride, given he rode a Royal Ascot. I think she's the most interesting runner in here. Again, waiting for final decks and draw, etc. But yeah, I think she's pretty interesting at 4-1. And then you go further down the market, you're into horses that haven't quite proven it at Group 1. The likes of Poet Master, Tiber Flow, etc. from over here should have been a ring. Who was, dances every dance. Kalina, who won this race last year, but hasn't been anywhere near winning since. Won this race last year and has since been 9th, 3rd, 6th, and 6th. That's for Kalina there. But you wouldn't put it past that one running well again. I just wondered if you had a question on or comment on this. Bavatier, because he was even money last year to win the Lagardere on this very day. Hasn't done a whole lot since, but certainly you wouldn't say he's gone at the game.
I think you've been looking at my notes. I wrote the one I actually thought that is probably SD always says it's all about price. It's all about price, and I thought that I thought I've been burnt by Bavatier. I've been off the cliff and back up again more times this year than I'd like to have been, but no doubt he has underperformed from what we expected last year. He's been thrice a third and another blowout in 12th. But we do have to remember he was behind Rosalien in the Lagardere last year, and Rosalien went on and he wasn't unfortunately we haven't seen much of him this year, but given what's happened. But that form's probably as good as any, really. You think about it. Look, he is 22. He was 22. I don't know what price he is now, but he was 22 yesterday. He might have drifted out a little bit with the two
it's 25. 25 available.
25. So look, I think there's plenty of runners in this race. You're likely to get an extra place or two in this race. And what I think is, I thought he was a bet at 20. So I think at 25 he probably is still a bet. And look, he is overpriced. If you can get those extra places, that's where you'll want to go. But I do actually think that. I think once more onto the breach, why not with him and see what we can get from it. Just going back to we circled around talking about Tribalist and Ramituel. Obviously, they added Big Rock into the race. Big Rock's had more stamps on his passport this year than Judith Chalmers from Wish You Were Here way back when. He's been to Newbury, Ascot, Deauville, and then last time he went to Woodbine for a jolly as well. Look, he was third in the Group 1 and he was third in the Canadian Group 1. So. Put as much as you want into that. Look, he's had 4 different jockeys: Lemaitre, Soumillon, Demuro, Rizpoli. Ever since that day at Ascot, I think he's gone backwards, and I don't think he's got much left in him, to be honest. I think Christopher Head probably milked the most out of him when he had the chance. But look, he's won over £1 million in prize when he's in France he's a 4-time winner, so you can't hold it against him. But I do think that there are others that I would prefer in the race. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, unfortunately for Big Rock and me, that performance on Champions Day last year, which I thought was fantastic and massively underrated, has turned out to be somewhat of a fluke with hindsight and his form this year. And what those 2 French jockeys did on Big Rock and Factor Cheval in the Queen Anne at Royal Ascot, they should have been arrested for. I thought it was a joke.
The other one that was added was Breed for the Queens. Now, I'm not totally au fait with Breed, and I don't. And I was wondering, is there a reason I was wondering why they've kind of put him in. To be honest, it's 25 grand to get into this race, so they've spent a bit of money to put him in. I'm just wondering, they'll need to come third or better to get the money back on that.
Yeah,
so
Breed.
It's a bit of a strange one to me.
Well, they got a few quid in the pocket because they won the City of York Stakes, but it was that daft race where Lake Forest played up in the Stores Audience, which I backed anti-post, absolutely bombed out. Yeah, nothing to that form. The one I would mention, and I am actually quite surprised at the price of this horse, Flora of Bermuda at 33-1. SD is all over this horse. He put her up for the Sprint Cup, where she was bang unlucky, hampered twice, drawn on the wrong side. She's in this race. So yeah, SD really likes her. and she's 33 to 1. So I can guarantee you SD will be putting up Flora of Bermuda for this race. Let's hope that she is declared 3-year-old, gets the weight, as Hunt will tell you. But yeah, that would be a definite interesting one for the 3-year-old there, Flora of Bermuda, definitely.
Behind Beauvatier at Deauville. So in the more east of east. So there you go.
Yeah.
If he's going to put one up, then I'm going to put one up, and we put 2 up at a reasonable price there in the race. I do think this is a very open race. I wouldn't be rushing to back Kinross at 5 to 2. Let's put it that way.
Yep. So you like Bouvatier in that one, Hump? Yep.
Yeah. As an outside, if you can get the extra places, I would definitely think he's overpriced.
Yep. So the advice is wait till final decks, but yeah, just keep an eye on Bouvatier, possibly extra places, 20, 25 to 1, etc. And now, along with SD, and he can take the credit for it, we'll be keeping a close eye on Flora of Bermuda again, waiting for final decks. Right, we'll wrap it up there, Hump. That's all the 5 supporting Group 1 races covered on ARC Day, plus the ARC itself on a separate video. Make sure you tune into that. Big thanks to Hump for coming on with his French racing expertise, and he'll be there at Longchamp on Sunday and probably Saturday as well if you would like to say hello. So thanks for tuning in, and we'll be back soon on Races Now.